turn right on the screen.
Come on, boys! Come on! Come on!
Contenders again. Gareth Southgate's team have restored the national pride in the national team. They've given us a wonderful ride, and they will reach and get better. The World Cup final, though, will be Croatia versus France. It's the England team that's coming home on Sunday. But they've opened the door for football's major honours to follow them home one day soon. England are out, but England are back as contenders, particularly after England led so well.
We're going to devote our energies to sports and gardening, all the cultural pursuits as far as they're concerned. In fact, we're going to put the goons to sleep. Meanwhile, we dig.
Greetings and welcome to the Anadromous. This is Byrne Power coming to you from Tbilisi, Georgia. And today's episode is going to be uncharacteristically short for me, although the first couple of episodes I did were very short too, but I was just stretching out. You know how that goes. Trying to feel my way. Eventually I would get to the long epics I'm known for. But today, the reason it's short is because we're only going to talk about one concept and one word. And you may have noticed the title of this video already. I am a fan of nothing and no one. And you may wonder, well, what are you talking about, Byrne? Don't you like anybody? Well, no, that's not the problem. The problem is this, the word fan. It's well known that the word fan is short for fanatic. And fanatic still clings to the word fan. So before we discuss it, I want to discuss the following concept. And that is that words carry their histories with them. Owen Barfield's History in English Words is really good at this point, and I would highly recommend reading it. It's not a very long book, and as far as Owen Barfield material goes, it's pretty easy to comprehend. But words carry their histories with them. Consider the word nice. It's a nice word. We carry it all the time. I occasionally use the word myself, but I'm very aware when I do of what I'm saying. The word nice actually comes from the Latin nescius, and it means unaware or ignorant. Eventually the word shows up in English as nice, coming from the French in around the 1300s, and it eventually means someone who is stupid or unaware. The word eventually comes to mean someone wearing sumptuous but even lascivious, lust-inducing clothing. But somehow that ended up being something more like refined, and then the meaning was further emptied until it just became a sort of dull sense of approbation. That's where it is today. It's just this like, oh, that's nice. Oh, nice. Now, even the word nice still holds that old definition to it. Stupid and ignorant, unaware. Because when you say, oh, that person's nice, there's almost a beatific simplicity and stupidity about the person. Now, I am aware that this other definition is still clinging to the word. So occasionally I will say nice, but I'm always aware that I'm not paying a very high compliment. The other person may take it as a compliment, but I'm basically saying, it's it's the lowest form of approbation I can possibly find. And if you believe me, you're the original use of the word. Interestingly enough, the older sense of the word is never far from our current usage. So when you hear the phrase nice guys finish last, guess what? That nice guy is not, that's not a term of approbation. That's the guy, you're a simp. You're just someone who is trying so hard to get along. You're kind of ignorant and unaware. And so nice, in that case, holds on to its original meaning. Or try this one. In the New York metro area, there's a way of saying the word nice which conveys all the nastiness of the original. It's like when someone goes, nice. And I love hearing that too, because it's like, hey, we're going down to Times Square. We're going to watch the tourists. Nice. It's that sense of, yeah, they're dumb. How stupid can they be? Nice. I love that inflection, turning it into the most poisonous word you can possibly say. It is kind of a poisonous word, one that should never be overused. Which brings us to fan and fanatic. Well, first of all, the word fan is obviously derived from the word fanatic. We'll discuss this in a moment. But the word fanatic comes from the Latin as well. Fanaticus. Sounds like Spartacus. Fanaticus. Well, yeah, you don't want to meet Fanaticus because originally it meant someone who was insane, mad, really enthusiastic, but inspired by the gods. And that it also meant that they were, it was pertaining to the temple. Fandom was the temple. So it was someone inspired by religious things, in a sense, to be a fanatic, which is why when I first became a Christian at the age of 15, people said, it's okay that you become a Christian, but just don't be a fanatic. I heard that so many times. But that's a very good use of the word. But now we, of course, have slipped the leash on fanatic. And so you have people who are fanatics for all sorts of things. And in fact, it became such a cliche that they shortened the word, and it then became fan. And believe me, I used to work in Forbidden Planet in New York City back in the mid-'80s. It was a huge place then. And we had fans come in. We had a pecking order of fans. There were the Marvel fans. And at that point, Marvel, for us, like if you were a DC fan, you were a little bit higher up than a Marvel fan. A Marvel fan was like indiscriminate. They would come. Marvel had this way, the Marvel universe would invite you to spend oodles of money on the latest parts of their various series. And they were good at separating the young geek from their money. And then below that were the Star Trek fans, Star Wars fans, and we're a little bit higher up than Star Trek fans, who were at that point very low. Now, this was the 1980s. All you had was the original series and the movies. And all the little mass market paperback books, of which I think there was about 100. And anyone who would come in and buy those books, we, the cool people in the store, it was very cool people running the store. Not that I subscribed to being cool, but we were just seen that way. We looked at those people as like, oh my goodness, what are you doing? Why are you spending your money? And the real over the edge, total fanatic fans were the people looking for the fanfic where Spock and Kirk were shipping with each other, if you know what I'm saying. So, yeah, that was like really far down on the pecking order of fandoms. But that wasn't the lowest. Can you guess what the lowest is? I'll give you a moment to think about it. Who could it be, I wonder? Really, who could it be? Well, it was Doctor Who. Any American in the 1980s who was into Doctor Who was the geekest of the geek, the lowest of the low, the fanniest, fanatical of the fan. And when those people came in, we always thought, man, they're drooling. It's just like, what is it with these people? Anyway, fans. I won't go into all the fan lore. And I don't mean to offend people who are fans of anything, but I want to say this. I am not a fan of anyone or anything. What do I mean? No one, here's the point. Fan A fanatic is a person marked by or motivated by an extreme, unreasoning enthusiasm for a person, musician, a cause. You see a lot of these people today. And I'm not. I always keep my reason in check. I don't buy everything. There are musicians that I've collected quite a few records, vinyl LP records of. And you know what? I make it a point never to be a completist. Because a completist is, after a while, you're just a package consumer. Like in the world of vinyl records, you can get the Japanese version and the Spanish version and the Mexican version and the Peruvian version. And it's just the only difference is the covers on it. The English version, the German version, and I know people who would do that kind of thing. In fact, I used to buy and sell record collections, and there was a rather pathetic artist who someone collected these up. I was so impressed by the lengths to which this person would go to collect 2 records that I kept those so I could demonstrate them to people at some point in the future. It's just like, really, this person had 1 hit, maybe 2 albums, and this person bought 30 pieces of vinyl related to this person. It's just like, what are they doing? But I kept that when I was buying and selling record collections just because I was in awe that a person would go that insane over such a insignificant musical figure. I mean, even if I was to tell you the name, you probably wouldn't know it. So, but when people ask, now, one of the reasons I'm doing this is because every now and then I get someone in the comments who will say something to me, and I want to prevent this for all time and refer to this video in the future. Because I'm not, they will ask me, are you a fan of blank, blank, blank? Now, in their mind, they're thinking, like, do you like? But it's never that simple. Being a fan of, like, there are people who were fans of Game of Thrones. And then at the end, everyone got pissed off, and then I'm no longer a fan of Game of Thrones. Or, and this is the weird connotation. So the opposite of being a fan of is not being a fan of, which ends up sounding like total hatred. And in fact, these words like hate have slipped the leash, and who knows what the word hate means anymore. It's like, I disagree with you. So someone who says, yeah, I liked all the Marvel movies, but then I didn't like what they were doing with, Captain Marvel. And someone say, oh, so you're a Marvel hater now. And that to me says a lot, that it's like, so you're a fan of, which means you have this unreasoning loyalty to them, or you're not a fan of, which basically means you have this unreasoning hatred of them. And there's nothing in the middle. You can't be just someone who says, Star Wars had its moments, but I don't think it's any big deal right now. Which to me doesn't say I hate it. It just says, it's like I don't live for this. I'm not, and that's the thing about fandoms. And Star Wars fandoms, among many others, get really toxic. And they get toxic because of the old fans versus the new fans. And the old fans want all of the mythology and the canon, although do they want the, extended universe? And the new fans want it to be social justice-y correct. Well, gosh, I'd rather shoot myself than be a fan of either of those. That is to say, I'm not interested in being a fan of anything. I mean, even the things I most appreciate in the world, like Tarkovsky movies. I can come along and go like, that Sacrifice movie, as much as I love Tarkovsky, and I do think that's a pretty great movie. I actually, just to prove how much I am not a fan of all sorts of stuff, I actually find Tarkovsky's Sacrifice to be better than, 9/10 of Stanley Kubrick's oeuvre. It's just like, yeah, I'm not a huge Kubrick fan. I will occasionally use the word, but I always, it's like it slips out because everyone else uses it, but I don't mean to. And I try to correct myself. So if someone asks me, are you a fan of such? And I'm like, I hear that go, beep, beep, beep. No fan, ever. So I love the Elephant Man movie by David Lynch. I consider that my favorite of his. However, I will admit, even at the very end, when he does the mother coming in and out of the screen, and it's just like, nothing will ever die, nothing. And I'm sitting there going like, well, David, that's kind of just, pretentious. And it's also underscoring the meaning of a lot of the rest of the film because it gets too romantic. Nevertheless, that's like in my top 5 films of all time. There's nothing I'm not critical of because I'm never an unreasoning fan. And the fact that people get so hot about subjects. I remember endless arguments about Spider-Man's costume. And then it turned out that it was Venom. Well, they did that because they couldn't, it was like the costume became a villain because everyone hated it so much. But these are the kind of fan arguments people have. I find fans are very different from people who know how to appreciate something on any level that you wish. I mean, I find in Georgia, where I'm living now, a refreshing absence of fans. That is, people will go to a movie. They will see a Marvel movie. They will see a Star Wars movie. They'll see a horror film. And they come out and they go, well, it was okay. I don't know about that. But they won't get this weird, and here's the main point, religious attachment to it. And that to me is the point at which, nope, never going to be a fan of anything because it still holds the original word of a person insane for religious reasons. So fandoms, I want nothing to do with. Being a fan of anything, I want nothing to do with. But likewise, I try to watch myself where I'm not a fan either. That is to say that because I understand I might be just, if I'm saying that, I might be just saying like, well, I'm not religiously attached to it. That's what I mean. But someone else might hear it as like, ooh, you are in another cult and you're against Stanley Kubrick. I never said that. I just simply said I find Tarkovsky much better than Stanley Kubrick. I like Stanley Kubrick films an awful lot. But how many are in my top 100 films of all time? 1. I'll let you guess which one below. How many are in the next 200? A bunch. That's the difference. Whereas I think almost all of Tarkovsky's are for me in my top 100 films of all time. So there you go. And it's just how it goes. But I'm not a Tarkovsky fan. I would much rather say I am the kind of person who gets an awful lot from him. I find that his work really meshes with the way I see the world and has informed the way I see the world. Whereas Stanley Kubrick's vision has not informed the way I see the world in the same way because it's too cold and inhuman so often. Now, I find that a valid perspective that a person can have, but it doesn't reach me on a really deep level. Where, to me, it's like, okay, there's a person making an honest film. I think Stanley Kubrick's a very honest filmmaker. And to be in my top 200 is still quite something. But no. So anyway, we're going to leave it there. Yeah, maybe you're not a fan of this video. Good. And I would just raise this question with you. Do you get too attached to things in a religious manner? And not just the big franchise entertainments, but anything. It's something worth thinking about. The fandom kind of started in the science fiction neck of the woods. So Sherlock Holmes is the first real fan product, then science fiction, eventually fantasy, Tolkien and all this. And hey, I read Lord of the Rings. I like the original movies. Hobbit's a little but even The Hobbit I kind of like. I'm not a fan of it, and I'm not a fan of it either. That is to say, I just appreciate it as what it is. So we'll just leave it there. I'm no fan of short videos. Let's get out of here. And remember, Anadromous swimming against the stream. Be an Anadromous yourself. Oh, here's something I haven't mentioned enough. You can support this channel. And me, I need it. by becoming a member. Well, okay. Let's try it this way. You can subscribe to the channel. That's good. Costs you nothing. You can hit like. Costs you no blood at all. You can even send in some hard-earned cash if you wish through PayPal. There's a link below. And I am preparing to start some sort of crowdfunder for getting my stuff, my huge 10,000 pound, 5,000 kilo library here to Georgia. This is going to be a Herculean task. You can wait to donate to that unless you want to, become a recurring member here or get the audio extras. Okay, I've said that. See you later. Thanks.
A people without history is not redeemed from time. For history is a pattern of timeless moments.
It's all the feet and there are all the positives. It has to be the start, doesn't it, of something for the national team. Otherwise, it's not worth it. That's all I'm aiming for the North lads. But as you all know, the young team in the I hope they're stood in that position again for 20 minutes.